Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week is episode 4, and the Duke and Duchess are gate-crashing a mortal festival. Thanks for joining us. Hello, I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Dosktir, Duke of Nothing.
I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Alyssa Crate, the altitudinous and amorous Duchess of Fury.
I'm Des, and I'll be playing Rumnet, the prophet of the Obsidian God, who is staying behind to administer church matters.
Excellent, thank you guys. Before we get started on gameplay stuff this time, let's briefly recap the previous episode for ourselves and of our listeners. This time, I think, Romnet, you have that.
Yep, with additions from my darling beast, Farius. And so, last time, I was eagerly awaiting the return of the Duke and Duchess, well, more properly the Duke than the Duchess, let's be honest with ourselves.
The Duchess had plenty of others awaiting her, so I think that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, no, I all is fair here, I think. And so they returned, and Dosk let me know, quite why he was coming back, the conquering hero, with a new statue devoted to him. Lissa also had one, which she later crowned in flowers. And they were we had helped set up their new housing in a typically not really fit for humans because the Obsidian God does not understand people. Mansion, I suppose? There were some issues with the door and the lighting and the beds. But we had dinner, and it was lovely, and mutual interest was established. And yeah. Then I opened my mouth, and the Obsidian God's voice came out, and they were sent off to handle some fires that really shouldn't be happening.
Indeed. There are a couple of things, of course, that Romnet wasn't really around for, though, that should probably also get a little bit of a refresher. Namely, Lissa had her father figure, Varric, in the cave with her last she saw him, and he found them upon their return to Fermata. He was quite drunk, and Lissa saw to his care before they met their first acolyte, a somewhat unsettling and largely mysterious sort of cast of individuals in Fermata. Lissa scouted a forge for Varric, belonging to a chap named Nem, who seemed very friendly and personable. And the action will pick up here with Dosk and Lissa having arrived back in the Cyanmere, seemingly about in the spot that they arrived in when last they left Fermata. Right as the first light of dawn begins to lift the sky from black to gray, they are being pulled by their sense of where they need to be toward the trading city of Calavan. This may also be a good time to fill our listeners in and let our sort of players be refreshed. Calavan is one of the 7 major trading cities of Taraxis. The largest and most prominent and most centrally located one. It is very close to the Seru River and its delta in the Cyanmere. It's very close to the sort of agricultural heartland of Taraxis called the Vales, which is where Lissa is from. And it is sort of centrally located north to south along the coast, and is also proximate to a honestly relatively modest but very difficult to navigate forest that has earned the moniker of the Gods' Woods, and artifacts and trinkets found or crafted there are actually one of the sort of very luxurious items that Calavan trades in. That's all pretty much common knowledge. Even if you've never been to the city, most Taraxans will be aware of that context, so just wanted to kind of lay that out. You, though, are approaching it from an angle that very few people really come to it from. It's likely you'll have to actually cross the Seru River to get to the city. But by the time we rejoin you guys in action, presumably you've been walking for a little while. It's probably full morning by now, and you may just be coming to the point where the Cyan Mirror starts to thin out as you sort of approach the river proper. So, I can let you guys take it from there, I think.
Real quick, to refresh both me and the listener, I have been to Calavan, but never to this festival. Like, I knew the festival by reputation, but I've never actually attended. Is that right?
That is correct. I think we're safe to say that unless you can think of a reason, in character or metagame reason for you not to have been to one of the 7 major cities, you probably will have at least had opportunity to go. So if you decide you have at least passed through before, you probably have.
Fair enough. Well, this was an easier walk through the swamp, if perhaps a longer one.
Yes, relieved to see that the animals seem to have settled down.
That's good.
Yeah, you have seen very little animal life. Frogs and bugs and birds have sort of started to make noise just recently.
Were you concerned that your effect was going to be permanent?
I was concerned that it might have lasted a bit longer than anticipated.
Sure. Well, one thing I've learned about when you direct fury is it's at something, right? So, I mean, they were angry at the risen dead. There are no more risen dead. I think I saw to that, and I hope that is permanent. So what would they be furious at?
That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. When I first did it, I just could tell that they sensed that something was different about their environment. And I don't think they quite had the understanding of what that was and why they should be angry about it. But now that the risen dead are gone, I guess they have full bellies and no reason to be angry.
At about that moment, you emerge from the thickest part of the swampy forest of the Cyan Mirror, and sure enough, you are looking out at the Seru River. It is a major river, so, quite wide, flowing, and deep. There is some visible traffic on it. This is the last bend in the Seru River before it splits in its delta through the area known as the Great Sump. And so it is swampy. It is, sort of, its banks have receded and bits flow into the Cyan Mirror. Tributaries, I guess the opposite of tributaries is Seru. I guess I was thinking tributaries to the Cyan Mirror, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. Peel off here and there. But you're standing on kind of an outcrop of mud and sort of turf that goes out into the river just a little ways. And looking across it, you can actually see just off in the distance, if you face the direction that the pull in your mind is bringing you, you can see the walls of Calavan as sort of a black rectangle on the horizon, kind of off to your west and a little bit north. Which is easy to tell because the sun is, sort of like one sun's width above the horizon to your east.
I pause and take my hair out of the ponytail and kind of shake it out a bit and look to Dosk and ask him, what do you think waits us this time?
Well, in this case, the festivals are part of a tradition, a local tradition, so they're being lit presumably by people. So my concern is that we may have to confront humans who the Obsidian God considers obstructions. That would be, of course, less disturbing in a certain sense than what we faced before, but more disturbing in another sense.
Oh, this festival occurs annually, right? So why would the big guy take issue with it this year?
That's a good point. Maybe something's changed, or maybe the Obsidian God was waiting for us.
I hope we don't have to deal with people.
To be honest, I'm not sure I'm prepared constitutionally, for that. I feel like we're both horribly capable should that situation arise, but yeah, I hope we don't have to do that.
Well, hey, looking at the silver lining, at least people would be more likely to take me up on that offer of a drink than, say, the risen dead and floating lights.
That gets an in-character guffaw, because the tension needed to be cut by something. Well, before we worry about any of that, the Seiryu, we should probably hire ourselves a way across.
Yeah, looking out at the river, you can see the boats that were working their way down it are starting to kind of come to life. You can see probably 4 varying sizes kind of in the wide sweep of this bend and down the river as far as you can see. The river itself has sort of a low fog or mist, kind of clinging to it in the early morning. It's not exactly chill, but it's colder down by the river, and so the water has kind of condensed in the air. And as you watch, a heron kind of wings low over the river and scoops up a fish and then disappears into the forest. You can't yet hear the voices of the riverboat's crews, sort of shouting and calling to each other. So it seems as though their day shift is kind of just coming on as they get moving. All of these are trading and cargo ships, that are kind of keeping to the central channel as they work their way down to Calavan. Presumably there to sell their wares and then head back up the river to pick up new goods from Selvin and beyond. You have a river.
Would I be wrong to say that probably they seem like the quickest way across? Like there's no obvious bridge. If we wanted to not try and take one of these boats, we'd be walking quite a way to get a different way across.
So this is actually a really good question. I probably should have clarified earlier. There are ferries across the Seru. None of them cross to the Cyanmere. And that's the primary way of crossing it, is to find a ferry. There are no bridges. But it's not unheard of for a trading ship to take on passengers. How close they would be willing to get to this bank of the river is kind of up for debate. If you're strong swimmers, could be an option. The Seru, is not a whitewater river. It is navigable. It is not especially treacherous, but it is wide. Or there are miraculous means, if you can think of them.
Hop on my back, Dosk. I'm as strong as a dolphin and as agile. I don't think I actually know what dolphins are out of character.
Yeah, you're pretty land-bound. You may have heard stories involving dolphins, though. That's Taraxis is a region that overall has a lot of naval trade. Maritime trade, I think, would actually be the correct phrase. But, there might be stories involving dolphins. You probably haven't seen one, though. I would also like to point out, and this is something that is definitely meta-game, so it may or may not be like an in-character thing that you are thinking of, but both of you, due to my devious intervention in setting up this campaign, are locked into aspect 0. This means that you have your mortal bodies, but you do have aspect miracle points that you can use to temporarily perform above and beyond mortal limits.
So we could jump across.
It is an easy thing to forget. To give you a relative kind of scale. A level 1 aspect miracle is high level human performance. Level 2 is like world record performance. Level 3 is classified as improbable feats. Level 4 is classified as very improbable feats, and the example that the rulebook gives very entertainingly to me is running on heads. And then level 5, which I think is as high as you guys could go with the miracle points that you have, is impossible for humans, like catching a bullet. Level 6, which you could get to with the Rite of the Last Trump if you wanted to, is something like universally improbable, like drinking a lake. So it scales
Thor.
up fairly rapidly.
So wait. I don't think that's improbable at all for Lissa. Oh, you mean literally?
No, the drinking of the lake is more likely for Varric, if we're being completely honest.
It's a reasonable point.
His thirst knows no bounds.
So all of that said, what this means is that if you wanted to use miraculous means to get across, you could do something clever with domain, which would be cheaper in terms of miracle points. And I always welcome cleverness with your estates. Or you could use aspect at a number of different levels. Something like jumping over the whole river is probably a level 4 or 5 miracle in a single bound. However, something like swimming across it very rapidly is probably a 1, 2 if you wanted to do it faster than anybody had ever done it before. And something like 3 or 4 might let you run across the surface of the water like one of those real cool lizards.
But we could wait, you said real cool lizard. My out of character brain just got very excited.
You have the undivided attention of one of your players.
There is a lizard colloquially known as the Jesus lizard that can run across the surface of water for short bursts.
Yeah, don't you know it's been a dream of mine to turn into that lizard? No, I'm joking.
Oh, to be a lizard paddling across the water. Well, let's see. Okay, so if we were to go domain, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, let's table talk this out. Because if we were to go domain, I could go up to a level 4, which would be a lesser creation. So if could I make there not be water in a narrow Moses-like tunnel through which we could then walk?
That is a very good question. It seems possible for you. I think a creation of nothing.
It's a creation of nothing. The question, I think, is it lesser?
I don't know that it is lesser. When I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the scale of this thing. It is temporary, though, so it doesn't feel like it should be as high as level 7. I could probably let it go at a level 5, which would be 1 miracle point for you, be a normal miracle.
All right.
What that would probably look like is less parting the river entirely, like just there is no water in this area, as a sort of moving bubble around you that simply negated the presence of the river. And Dosk may or may not be thinking about this at the time, but anything in it.
Yeah. Less Moses-y, but perfectly practical. I will remind the listener that I'm already down 4 domain miracle points after the fight in the Cyan Mirror. So that would leave me not high and dry, but with only 1 miracle point to spend if it came down to it in domain.
Mm-hmm.
Have we completely ruled out buying a ferry and just trying to swindle them with extra money? Because I have some coins to throw around.
This is also probably a really good time to mention that Dosk, is from a merchant family, and I do have a master die in haggling. So we between your coin and my my slickness, we should probably at least consider the possibility.
What's haggling?
Yeah,
I just throw money at things and occasionally.
A thing you do with witches.
Why it's
I do with witches. Is that what you just said? I endorse this statement.
Argle bargle, tag and haggle. It's the fine art. If this
I will be your peanut gallery for most of today. It appears.
Yeah, no, you're the voice in certainly my head, if not our heads, making snide comments. I mean, so if this is an in character conversation, haggling would be the fine art of getting the thing you want for less coin than someone wants for it.
But why would I do that if I could give them what they want for it?
Well, because then you have more coin for other things later.
I mean, I don't want to rip them off, but let's at least try it before we go and do anything too splashy and make too grand an entrance.
Fair. That's actually a good point. If we're looking to subvert some sort of local tradition or local authority, it may be a good idea to enter with a lower profile.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
To the fairies, then.
So the two the two of you are smart cookies and immediately break the problem down into two parts. One is getting the boatman's attention as more than a curiosity on the shore. And
Let's be clear, we definitely are.
A curiosity on the shore? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, giant woman and her sidekick and interesting clothes.
Her hairsuit fashion disaster sidekick. Yeah.
I like the Amazon and the Ragamuffin as a potential title for this
yes,
episode.
the two genders.
Sounds like an indie band name.
The Amazon and the Ragamuffin is a very good indie band name.
It really is.
The second thing is, you are on the swampy side. There's kind of a reason why there are not more ferry crossings here. One is that nobody lives in the Cyan Mirror or the Great Sump, and the other is that this bend in the river is not especially easy to navigate safely with larger ships. So getting their attention and then getting them to come close enough for you to swim, jump, run, walk, fly, have Lissa throw you, is,
No one taught us a dash.
I like the notion of them getting passage on a ship and then spending the miracle points to get onto the ship that they could have spent to get across the river.
To be fair, it would be less miracle points, frankly, than anything like what Dosk was planning.
And we'd be doing something merely impressive as opposed to obviously supernatural. So that does make a difference in terms of drawing attention, I'd imagine.
Yeah, hammer throwing a Dosk is impressive, but not improbable.
Not when you look like Lissa.
It's been done.
I do have lifting stance.
You do have lifting stance.
All right, so we're trying to flag down bosuns, I suppose we just make ourselves prominent. I may even wave an arm a bit. Do we see any especially promising? The word that pops into my head is marks, but I know that Lissa wouldn't approve. So interlocutors.
I also will cup both hands to my mouth and go, "Hey!"
That was more or less what I was expecting to be the solution here.
A devious puzzle, GM.
Yeah. I really want this to be a roll, but I have no idea what it would be.
Inspire.
I was gonna go with vigor. If you wanted to just roll your 4 dice for body plus vigor.
I forget I actually have
just to project.
And no matches.
It takes you a little while. It's not until a smaller boat is coming around the bend and, passing a little closer to you that anybody seems to take any special notice of you. Seems like, for the most part, the further away ships just assume your voice is coming from one of the other ships and it's not directed at them as they pass by. So you spend a somewhat frustrating half an hour, kind of hallooing at ships before this smaller ship seems to take note of you, and some sort of deck officer with an impressive voice leans up against the railing of this kind of shallow draft smaller capacity river ship and cups their hands around their mouth and shouts back, "Hello, the shore!" And you are noted, although they are sailing fairly rapidly with the current. But you do have their attention.
I quickly flip my hair over to cover my undercut on the side of my head and the snake tattoo as a result, and I shout back, "We need a lift! We have coin!"
The person who shouted to you originally, kind of shouts back, "To Calavan!"
Yes! Thank you!
They shout back a number of coins that you do have, but boy, is it sort of making your eyes water. For our listeners at home, I'm not giving a specific amount because one of my favorite things about the Rain system is that it handles money in a very abstract fashion. And so Lissa has the advantage wealth 4. And so any given thing will have a rating in wealth between roughly 0 and 10 or 9. And anything lower than 4 she can just afford as long as it's not like a lot of them. Anything at 4 she can buy, but it will reduce her wealth to 3, and anything above 4 she cannot buy without haggling.
You also told me that wealth 4 was enough to buy a house.
I believe so, if not particularly a fancy one. It is not an inconsiderable amount of money.
This could be where I step in, potentially.
Potentially.
So this would be a haggle roll, but I feel like it's also like I need to make some physical attempt to be like 3/4 as loud as Lissa was.
So
I've got some pipes.
You do. Let's compound this because I like making you guys roll. Start with a command intimidate roll to be forceful.
Okay.
And regardless of your success or failure, we will give you your haggle roll after that, which you have the master die in. It will just be where you're starting from.
Sure. And I let the record show. I was bad about this last time. I'm going to call out the number of dice I'm rolling. This is 4 dice.
Yeah. 2 command plus 2 intimidate.
That is a pair of 3s.
Excellent. So you sort of find you've probably taken a couple of singing lessons. You probably, have evinced an interest in the performing arts once or twice in your life, and so you assume a somewhat wide stance, and you lower your diaphragm and take a big breath, and you, use your air, and your vocal cords exactly as your vocal coaches would have taught you, and sort of belt your response to this, say something to the effect of, you're heading to Taraxis anyway, and we don't have cargo. Or I misspoke, you're heading to Calavan anyway. You don't have cargo. Let's haggle a bit. Send someone in the ship's boat. And sure enough, after a little bit of conferring, you see the ship's boat kind of come down, and the ship itself reef sails and begin to just kind of drift with the current. And soon enough, the person who was shouting to you, who turns out to be a stocky, weather-worn woman of late middle years, with leathery, sort of sun-abused skin, and I wouldn't say a permanent scowl, but a very severe demeanor, wearing the plain clothes of a lifelong sailor, is positioned in the prow of the ship's boat with 2 sailors rowing with the oars behind her. She's got 1 foot up on the prow, and as it sort of approaches and comes side on to you as they slow, about 10 feet from where your little spit of mud, and you see her pivot to face you, and she sort of leans on her knee up on the whale, I think. I am not very good with nautical terminology of the ship, or the ship's boat, rather, and she says, "Right then. We're wasting our time with you already. How much do you have?" This would be a time to roll.
I was going to say, that sounds like a high roll to me. So remind me, and maybe remind the listener, master die. So this is, I roll command plus a die that I can set to be whatever I wanted after I've rolled?
Correct. Your roll is almost always going to be a stat plus a skill. In this case, your command stat is 2, and your haggle skill is 1 master die. Master dice you can set after the roll to be whatever you want. So you'd roll your 2 command dice, and then you can set your master die to be one of those.
Groovy. All right, so I got a 5 and a 2, so I'm going to say the master die is a 5.
Excellent. Yeah, so you get a pair of 5s there. Let me roll for this mate's haggle. All right. You go back and forth for a couple of minutes. She puts up a very tough face, but it's also clear she doesn't actually want to leave you on the shore over a couple of coppers. This is easy money for them. and she is just trying to get whatever she can out of you. So you make sure not to let on, how much money Lissa is carrying. You may not actually know, other than that she thinks that it will be sufficient. And so I get them down to a very, sort of reasonable sum for the trip, something you think Lissa won't actually be upset, to sort of stiff them on the trip. And she motions to the sailors who row the ship's boat close enough for you to sort of hop over the last little bit of muddy water at the shore here and into the boat, and seating yourselves. You begin to catch up to the river ship, where it is drifting down with the current, and soon you'll be there. On the ride, the ship's mate, who came to haggle with you, introduces herself as simply J, seemingly just the letter, and asks who you are and why you're headed to Calvin.
Hey Jay, I'm Alyssa, big fan. I have a lot of respect for people who work on water for a living. It just seems really free.
She gives you a suspicious look and says, "Seems expensive enough some of the time, anyway."
So many free things are, or freeing things.
Freeing,
Hi.
yes.
yes. A fine but a real distinction. Dust here. Pleasure.
She goes, her head whips up towards you and says, "Tyr. Dusk Tyr. Not from Tharet." And she quickly starts looking at your clothes in extreme consternation.
Did I say Tyr? Yes, that Tyr.
She starts to swear under her breath, clearly thinking she could have gotten a much better deal rescuing a scion of the Tyr family from the Scion Mere.
Do you have any dirt on Dusk? Because do share. Embarrassing stories, welcome. I kind of elbow Dusk playfully and wink at him.
She shakes her head and says, "Only that the Tyr family, or at least the patriarch of the Tyr family, is supposed to be wealthier than anyone else in Taraxis. I don't know if it's true." She gives you a meaningful look, Dusk, says, "But, well, among shipping circles, his wealth has become a saying. Rich as Croesus.
Old Croesus Tyr, that's true, the Hawk of Tharet. But his reputation isn't just that he's rich, of course. You know this. You're a woman of the sea and the canals. And my point is, you know that it's not just that he's rich; it's that he's shrewd. So having a rich grandfather doesn't necessarily mean that I have access to any of that."
She chuckles and she says, "Honestly, I figured if you did, you wouldn't have ended up in the Scion Mere trying to flag down a ship."
So he's not
Yes.
the only one in this equation who's shrewd, then.
She snorts a laugh in spite of herself and says, "All right, well, it's a fair fare." And about that time, you pull up next to the river ship. They lower some hooks to secure the ship's boat and a ladder that everybody climbs up, and then they pull the ship's boat back up. And you have a ride to Taraxis. The river is... I keep doing that. You have a ride to Calvin. The river is serene and beautiful as the sun comes up, playing off the water, burning the sort of mist away. The early morning animals recede back into the landscape on either side. It's kind of stark, actually. To your right, you're seeing the Scion Mere and the trees of it sort of gradually give way to the muddy marshlands and sort of tall water grasses of the Great Sump. And to your left side, you are seeing the edges of the farmland of the Vales kind of getting a little bit rockier and kind of coming up to your left a little bit as you approach Calvin and its relative high ground that kind of pushes the river into this curve that forms the Great Sump. And as you travel, Calvin gets closer. You can make out more and more details.
I go full Titanic on the prow. Like, I seem to be enjoying myself intensely, enjoying the spray of the river as it floats up around me. and laughing like a mad woman.
I watch.
You get a good 30 seconds of this before Jay bellows from amidships. Get away from the prow, you fool! If you fall in, I'm not pulling you out.
I take a few steps back and then sit down, but still proceed to enjoy myself intensely and give her whatever the culturally appropriate equal is of a thumbs up.
I'm tempted to make it jazz hands, but that seems like it would work against the tone a little bit.
I give her jazz hands.
I would spend a fate point to declare that story detail. To use terminology from completely the wrong system.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Indeed.
that's could confuse matters slightly. Can I, meanwhile, maybe roll scrutinize to see if Jay is whispering to anyone about my family situation?
That would be a very good use of a scrutinized roll. That's 4 dice for you.
Tis. That is no matches.
Oh.
There's a lot of people talking a lot of the time at various volumes. It's really hard to tell what may actually be passing between them.
I'll even say I'm trying to hear what Jay is saying, and then Jay yells at Lissa, and I jump 5 feet in the air. Right.
Yeah. She does seem that it does seem like even before that she was aware that you were kind of not skulking, but paying attention.
Fair enough.
With the wind, heading out over the sea with the morning, sort of the land warms and the sea remains cool. By comparison, the wind kind of shifting around, pushes you around the bend. The current takes you down toward Calavan, and before long, the ship is pulling into the riverside port at Calavan. Calavan has 2 sort of harbors. A smaller one on the river, where the ships are generally smaller to boot, that sort of, has the structure of a small harbor with a bunch of piers and jetties that, ships can navigate to unload their wares. The rule here is generally that you come in and you unload and you wait for the wind to change and then head out. But it's fairly busy. There are queues, ships anchored a little ways up to get in. Fortunately, the ship that you are on is small enough that there's an open berth that it can take. But Dusk, you probably would be aware of, probably even have seen, the Oceanside Harbor, which takes up pretty much the entire ocean facing of Calavan and is the only side of the city that isn't walled. The wall picks up at the shore where the city sort of runs into its slums. The wall kind of cuts between the city proper and the slums outside of it, and then arcs around to meet the river at an obtuse angle with kind of the low-lying areas that the ground slopes down to outside of the city, inside the wall. With the river and the sea being kind of the other 2 barriers. And the city goes all the way to the sea, if not all the way to the river, where the harbor sits. And you can even see some of the masts from the riverside of the city. It is very busy and very grand. The city itself is built mostly from this gray stone that's in fairly great supply upriver in Selvan. And tends to have tiled and shingled roofs, as opposed to the thatch that is common in the Vales. Very few purely wood buildings, though a lot of the buildings do have a timbered 2nd or 3rd story, and wooden shutters and doorways, and lots of stalls and stables and things are wooden as well. This particularly crosses your mind because of all the fires that are going to be going in the city shortly. But you can actually see just in the sort of headland near where the river lets out from where you are pulling into the riverside harbor here, the beginning of the line of great bonfires on the ocean-facing harbor wall. As you come in, you can see the first few, and Dusk, you will know, these continue all the way to the wall. On the harbor side, every 100 feet or so, there's another great bonfire. None of them are lit, I should say. These are just the
bonfires to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These will become the bonfires.
mega sconces. Okay.
Pre-bonfires.
Yeah. I'm sure we could go on for a while coming up with terminology for them. Instead, let's get you guys off of the ship. Jay collects the money.
I slip her a couple of extra coins as a tip.
Do you
She
wink?
narrows her eyes at you and raises an eyebrow, but takes the money without a word.
I also give her a hearty clap on the shoulder and say, "Keep up the good work. You have a lovely life and job."
She grunts and goes back to yelling at ship's hands as they offload the cargo. And you are in Calavan. It is large. It is crowded. It is starting to get hot. Not all of the roads are paved, but quite a few of them are. Especially as you get further up the hill, as is common in cities with varied elevation. The further up the hill you go, the wealthier the population gets, and the finer the buildings get. The city hall / governing palace is at the apex of the hill, overlooking the entire city. You can see its red tiled roof with white marble picking out some of the details, from here. And as the hill descends from there, you can see the estates of the very wealthy, presumably the merchants of Calavan, and the families of old, coming down into the trades and craftspeople, and down into the sort of outlying areas of the city. Nearer the wall, you have people who are maybe skilled laborers, and then outside you have people who carry things and work as servants. And just to Calavan's credit, there aren't really any places where there's just a desperate, muddy shantytown. There are roads and there are permanent buildings, but you do get down to the level of hovel, in the outskirts.
Now that we've set foot in the city, do we still feel the tug, or is it that similar thing to when we arrived in the swamp and stopped feeling it? We're kind of on our own after that.
It may be inaccurate to say that you're no longer feeling it, but like when you arrived in the swamp, it is pulling you to where you are. And so you have no further direction.
This might be a good opportunity for a lesser divination. So
Indeed it would.
I'm going to go about doing that and kind of furrow my brow and kind of stand out awkwardly for a moment, because I'm not sure if there needs to be any theatrics with such a miracle.
Sure. So when you are doing a lesser divination, this is learning about your estate. Mm-hmm. What is it that you are trying to find out?
Oh, what in particular is threatening the darkness?
Okay. Well, so
Unless Dosk has more ideas.
I have an even more specific one, actually, because it occurs to me.
Ooh.
We see the, and I promise I'm not going to come up with 5 more pieces of terminology, but the fires yet to come, they are the absence of fire. So I think I turn to them, being nothing where there will be fire, and I wish to divine who's going to light them and what they will think as they do.
You will have to get closer. You have, let's see, a lesser divination does not cost you anything, as it's a level 2 domain miracle. So you can do it as a simple miracle, and you feel that there is information, but basically what you're looking to do is speak through a divination miracle to the tutelary spirits, who do not generally use words, of these stacks of wood and fuel, and find out something from them. The main problem with the direct approach that you were going to take, Lissa, is that neither of your estates is darkness.
Oh, it has to be specifically about fury, then.
Indeed.
Oh.
With a major divination, you could use your estate to scry, or ask it a direct question about something else that, if it's reasonable, it could observe or know about. through some, if it could get you that information, you could learn it. But a lesser divination, you're just learning about your estate, and sort of like if there was somebody in the area who was furious, you could, be like, or if there was a fight going on, a source of anger or even discord, probably would be close enough to your
Gotcha.
portfolio.
Let the record show, I totally thought you were doing that. I thought you were saying, like, what is making Mott, if not furious, then as mad as Mott gets.
Yeah, yeah. I could always... Would that work?
I guess there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, let's go for it, because it doesn't cost us anything. We might as well do both of our formats of lesser divination. The other option that came to mind was to think if there was anything causing discord with the upcoming festival, which may also be a beneficial query.
Yeah. So while you are walking towards the ocean harbor, where these, staged areas for the bonfires are set up, Lissa, you feel the soul shard of your Imperator within you. You turn your attention toward it. You let your senses expand outward from it, trying to determine, sort of where Mott's fury is focused or what could be causing it. You could, also kind of use it as a, I'm picturing when Superman flies up above Metropolis and hears everything, just hearing the anger, in the city. Like, a lot of his background noise just tune it out, but you can kind of get a sense of the rise and fall of it, and the hot spots, as you walk, and your awareness expands and expands, starting in a small bubble around you, and it's sort of hard to map it onto a specific, like, physical location, because larger sources of fury, more intense furies, feel more proximate to you, even if the actual physical location of them is further away. At about, 10 seconds into this, you are overwhelmed. You literally stagger against an as yet unopened market stall along the more or less paved street that you're on, heading up the hill towards the harbor, because there is something radiating waves of fury from the direction of the harbor. You can't pinpoint any closer than that, because it's sort of like experiencing an earthquake in your home and trying to figure out where the epicenter of it was. It is immense and frankly terrifying.
I catch Dosk's arm and kind of tell him that I feel an astonishing amount of fury coming from the harbor, and I point in the direction and look very concerned, because what is there to be angry about? This is a lovely city.
I
study her and agree enthusiastically.
I must break in here, because Lissa, your description of your demeanor is exactly what you feel and what you think you are presenting. Dosk, Lissa turns to you to tell you this with a manic grin and lights in her eyes, and points excitedly at the harbor as she tells you about this.
Well then, I will also note that I say I steady Lissa. That sounds like a simple enough thing, but I'm going to assume this takes my entire body and
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there one of those fires yet to be, toward the harbor? Because if so, that
all of them are
well,
toward
then
the
there
harbor.
you go. That's the place for the divination. That's right. They're all there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's no point in delaying the matter. Are you all right? Shall we proceed toward the source of the I look at her grin, the distress?
I just don't get why so many people are angry all the time.
Not everyone can
if you go too much farther,
Lissa,
Lissa, that'll become a why so serious.
Oh, no.
Why so furious? Yeah.
Why so furious?
Oh,
It's happened.
All right,
memes.
All right,
Put
we
it
live
on
in
a
a society.
t-shirt.
Let's go over there.
All right, so you guys pick up the pace toward the harbor. Certainly, as your awareness contracts back, Lissa, you will notice this. Dosk, you've already been noticing it probably, but the life of the city goes on pretty, as you would expect in a large city. Lisa, have you been to a large city before? Before Fermata, I guess.
Probably because of my family history, but I think we decided I have not been to Calavin.
Yeah, it is certainly the closest city to your family's hometown, but they probably also wouldn't have wanted you to be representing them in Calavin.
Yes.
But you may very well have been to Selvin, the smallest of the trading cities. The oldest used to apparently be the sort of political center of Taraxis, but not for a very long time. This is rather more bustling than that. And
as we're walking along, I mutter something about, I remember what some people had to be furious about.
What's that?
Jeez. My grandfather, who came up on the boat, the last time I was here, so was he, and things have been worse since. Put it that way. I was never the man he wanted me to be.
I feel that. So, when you say they've been worse, do you mean for you or for the entire city?
Well, I'm not sure what we're about to walk into, so I reserve judgment on the city, but for me, I've had far worse days.
The city itself, in addition to the normal bustle of, people going about their, daily tasks and business, servants and messengers, couriers, cart drivers, and people carrying the sedan chairs of the very wealthy, the, hawkers and merchants and vendors, and, all of that stuff. Even farmers, sort of bringing in what they have to sell in the city. All of these are around as normal, but a lot of people are also bringing in carts full of fuel. There's coal, charcoal, there's like lumber, but there's also just apparently people have gone out into the countryside to forage for fallen limbs and sticks and, all of the little stuff. There's torches, there's bundles of reeds and twigs, there's candles and lamps. There are, outside of taverns especially, but other businesses sometimes, metal braziers that are being heaped with fuel. Any given spot you would stop on the road, you can look one direction or another and probably see 4 of these braziers and many times that of torches, candles, lamps, candelabra, all being handled, fueled, placed. There's a lot of celebratory anticipation, perhaps we should say, in the air as you go.
I like company as much as the next person. Well, you've been around me, but this feels dangerous.
Yes, it seems Furiously Happy also has a point at which, I don't know, I might prefer Fury.
No. I prefer the Furiously Happy. That's not what I was implying. There's just so many people and so many flammable things within arm's reach of them,
Well, that's all I meant. Enthusiasm plus kindling could be an issue for a city with so much wood, I say, looking around.
So much wood. And usually I waggle my eyebrows at that, but this is not the time.
I watch your eyebrows and notice that they do not waggle, and a new severity enters my face. And I say, I'm told they do this every year. How is it possible that the city stays standing?
Being close to water, I suppose. I don't know. I think we need to figure out what in particular about this year is upsetting the big guy.
Perhaps a mania has seized them, and this is on a scale quite unlike previous years. Perhaps that's what we're here to stop. Perhaps we're actually not only not killing people, but saving them from burning to death.
I like the idea of saving people, but as to stopping mania, I don't know.
If it comes to it, that may be my department.
You see this behavior keep up as you are heading up the hill toward the harbor. You're not headed towards kind of the palace at the crest of the hill, but you are sort of going up the side of it to the highland that the harbor is sort of built under. And that's kind of where you'll encounter these bonfires on sort of this highest point overlooking the harbor. And you do notice that as you get into the wealthier portions of the city, there are a lot of people, seemingly mostly servants, who are hauling buckets from wells and pumps. There are buckets in this part of town next to basically every potential source of ignition that you see. Not all of them have been filled yet. It seems as though the servants will be working double time, at least until these fires are lit, to make sure that there is water near the rich people's property, at least.
Are we near any of the pumps?
You pass several, yes. They seem to be pumps that are installed by whatever sort of family or manor is nearby, near the gate to their estate as a perhaps form of largesse. It lets their servants use it, but it also lets people passing by on the street use it.
Could I do a lesser creation of fury on the tutelary spirits of the pumps to make them flow a bit more freely and speed up the process of filling the buckets?
You may. Let me pull up the sheet there that we use as a reference here. Lesser creation is make things. You're creating fury in them. Okay, so again, this is not precisely of either of our systems that we're using, but I do like putting a little bit of chance into proceedings. So
can I use inspire since I'm talking to a multitude?
You may use command inspire for these tutelary spirits, yes.
And I have a master die in inspire, so that means I'm going to roll one and set the other.
Yes,
Ooh.
You will not be using words, of course, but you will essentially be trying to set the tone in which they receive the fury you create.
A pair of threes.
Threes, okay. The pump nearest to you immediately ruptures and starts spraying water into the air. But the others seem to have more like up and down the street for about 100 yards in either direction. You can see 3 or 4 in either direction that do seem to have the desired effect. The one just here, oops.
Yeah, it seems to have had some pent-up energy. I can relate to that.
If you use the site to actually look at the tutelary spirits, with this new sense of yours, rather than just the results of what happened, you will see that the tutelary spirits of the material of the pump are basically in what passes in the spirit world for a fist fight with the tutelary spirits of the water coming out of the pump.
I pick up the pace a little bit. When I say pick up the pace, that's a bit of a misnomer. I imagine I just take longer strides that are more comfortable for me, as opposed to whatever stilted pace I typically walk at.
Which means I pick up the pace to try and, if not match the strides, at least match the speed as best I can.
Indeed. And it is this relatively rapid pace that brings you to, sort of this high ground overlooking the harbor. So you achieve the sort of high ground, the ridge over the harbor, and it's hard actually to take it all in. The harbor is massive. It doesn't go out a long way. It seems to Dosk's relatively trained eye, at least, like the sort of seafloor drops off pretty quickly here, and so the sea gets rough pretty quickly, and the harbor doesn't try to go out, and so it goes along probably more than a mile of coastline is these stone seawalls and jetties, piers, and quays and wharves. I don't know the difference, so somebody who is listening to this at home and going, "No, you idiot!" I'm just using all of the names of all the structures that I know that are sometimes in harbors. But you can look out to the right. You can see the mouth of the main sort of through line of the Saru, where it flows into the sea, and sort of the odd shapes that it makes in the water there. You can look a little further and you can see the Great Sump where it turns into the ocean and the salt shoals. You can't quite see far enough from here to be able to kind of identify where Dusk, the confluence, the sort of seclusion that you spent a little bit of time in is, but it's out there in the salt shoals. If you look to your left, you can see the harbor, the wall, and very little beyond it by the land until you get a little bit of sort of hilly grassland. You can see the sea sweeping away in all directions. It's dark blue. It's a little choppy. The wind, is coming in and stirring up whitecaps on some of the waves. And down in the harbor, there are probably literally hundreds of ships of various sizes. Some of the largest ones are actually novel even to you, Dusk. One of the things that you're aware of is that the major trading families of Taraxis tend to treat their shipwright techniques and plans and technologies as closely held trade secrets. Only by observing somebody else's ship can you really get somebody else's innovation. So you see a few ships that you think could spend extended amounts of time in the open ocean, which is fairly unusual. But certainly most of the ships here would be staying within sight of shore or maybe just a day's sailing away from it if they were trying to cut a corner. But a handful are rigged in a way that maybe they could be ocean going. And you see a few at the periphery, smaller ships with sails and oars for sort of short runs between nearest cities. You see some of the ships that can go river and ocean, kind of maybe stocking up, having come in from one of the other cities before heading up to Selvin and points inland. There's all kinds of activity here. You can see the bonfires being set up, or rather, they have been set up. Perhaps 2 or 3 dozen in your sight here, from the riverside all the way to the wall on the other side, all here along the highest point, this harbor wall. There are steps leading down from where you are down into the harbor, as well as a couple of major paved roads that take gentler ramps down so that warehouses up in the city can be accessed, though most stock is kept down here in the harbor. Warehouses built right up to the harbor wall in between staircases and ramps. There are sometimes warehouses for particularly sensitive or valuable goods further up. It's a lot to take in a moment. But the other thing that comes to you as you're standing here is the scale on which these bonfires are built. They are taller than some of the houses that you have passed. There are whole sections of tree trunk in the lower foundational levels of these kind of ziggurat-shaped piles of fuel. And each one is built in what appears to be a relatively permanent 4 or 5 foot tall stone ring that gives it a fairly wide berth.
Do they simply have much too much wood or something?
They can harvest it from the Cyanmere and from the Godswoods, as well as from the tended copses throughout the Vales. But they have to import a lot of this. It's not like it's just laying around. Calavan itself has some trees, but only in areas that are kept landscaped as like parks or gardens for that purpose. Those trees are not being harvested.
That was 100% meant as an in-character incredulous DOS question, but the lore is super appreciated, and the context context equally so. All right.
Well, you didn't hear that answer.
No, but I didn't, but I did, and the listener did, and that's yes. Yeah. So, am I close enough to do my divination?
You are. So, specifically, you are inquiring of the absence of these fires, the potential for bonfire, as it were. You are trying to learn anything in particular, or are you just getting a sense?
I suppose I want to know who built them and who will end their nothingness, which is to say, who will light these fires. And I want to get a sense of whether, do I feel the tug when I feel them, their presence, their absence? Do they seem like the people who were here, to oppose in their opposition of the Obsidian God?
Okay. Once again, I would like to apply a roll here where maybe none would normally be necessary.
System miscegenation.
Boy, that's a heck of a phrase. Roll knowledge plus lore. That's going to be 7 dice for you. Basically, what you're doing here is you are applying your human context to the weird deluge of mishmashed information that this divination gives you.
So many dice that it's weird to fit them all in my hands. Okay, here we go.
Those are the best kinds.
Okay, hang on. Let's take stock here. So that is 2 4s, 2 3s. So I guess I picked the 2 4s.
Okay. So you sense at first a rhythm, though you are not sure of what. You feel it without using any of your 5 primary mortal senses. And so it's difficult to place, but what you realize is that you're feeling all of the times this has been done. The rhythm of lack of fire, fire, lack of fire, fire, lack of fire, fire, lack of fire, fire. And the lack of fire, of course, is much longer. Roughly 364 days, at a time. But you quickly lose count of how many there have been. Hundreds, at least, of these cycles. And you feel the scope of the whole thing diminishing as you get further and further back. And you sort of understand from the presence of these stacks of wood that they experience this as the arrival of, fire spirits, salamanders in the Rosicrucian, sort of designation. They don't really perceive the mortals that come bearing the salamanders. The people who bring the fire are not part of their perception. But what you can glean here is that there is a certain ceremony to it. It is the same each time, no matter how far back you get. I think that's about all you probably get with a lesser divination.
Okay, so if it were different this time in terms of the lighting of the fires, I wouldn't know that yet from this.
Correct.
Okay. But I know that all the previous times there's consistency.
Meanwhile, Lissa, you've been sort of, just gazing around. This is a pretty impressive sight to you.
Yeah, binary sun eyes and all.
Yeah, exactly. What I've begun to think of as Gurren Lagann eyes, if that's a meaningful reference. But the overwhelming scale of the harbor activity makes it hard for you to focus on, and so you're turning your head to look along sort of this wide promenade on the top of this ridge. You actually see something that catches your eye, because it looks a little out of place. And once you've seen it, you can see that there seem to be a few of these, where there are several dozen of these bonfire pits. There are perhaps half a dozen scattered among them up and down the harbor wall of these monuments, shrines? Obsidian. They are sort of, picture if you took a pyramid and you kind of cut a wedge out of one side of it. And then if in that wedge you had a little shelf at about waist height. The whole structure is maybe 8 feet from side to side and 6 feet high. But you can see there are about a half a dozen of them up and down. And the closest one to you catches your eye. There is an older man and a young boy, pretty clearly a grandfather and a grandson, approaching this monument. And the grandfather is too far away to hear, but is clearly explaining something to the boy, who puts a bundle on the shelf. And it's a crowded shelf. A lot of very recent offerings have been left there. In short order, the grandfather and the boy are gone. But you, squinting up and down here, can see, sort of a scattering of people at some of the other shrines coming and going.
I want to go and talk to one of the people at the shrines. And I'll obviously indicate to Dosk what I'm doing and what I noticed, because I'm pretty sure these shrines are for the big guy,
That snaps me out of my reverie, because I have one hand pointed with a claw at one of the sconces and the other hand supporting that hand, like I might get pushed back.
Yeah, you kind of snap out of it. You head over to the shrine in time for a young mother with a child of maybe a year old, sort of in a kind of cloth wrap, and supported by an arm on one hip, as she brings a little bound parcel, fairly small, maybe the size of a couple of cell phones stacked on top of each other, for our players and listeners, sort of wrapped in like a cheesecloth, and bound with a string. In the other hand, as she approaches the shrine, she sort of sees you coming and hangs back, as if to make way for you to approach the shrine.
I gesture for her to go ahead, and I say, making an offering to the obsidian god?
She says in what you would recognize as a Vales accent, which, apologies to the listeners, I am not a trained voice actor, but I am going to try to do the voices this time, goddammit.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this already.
She says, well, it's tradition, innit? The offering on the night of the Fall Festival of Fires. Festival of the Fall Fires. I'm sorry, my ladyship. Who should I know you?
Name's Lissa. I'm new here, and this is my first festival, so I'm just trying to learn the ropes. It's tradition to make an offering to the obsidian god.
She nods pretty enthusiastically. She says, oh yes, we used to do it all the time back on the farm, you see. It is darker there, so keeping them happy seems like a good idea. It's done less here in the city, but lots of us come in from the country, and, well, this is the night to do it. We're about to light all these fires, after all, so we come to make offerings, and what was the word my granddad used? Propitiate, I think? The obsidian god? Since there's going to be fires burning through the night, we don't want to offend the dark. Do they not do this back where you're from? You don't sound like a foreigner.
They don't. I look at Dosk for help and kind of shrug.
No.
For what it's worth, this is something that we had sort of discussed when we were planning this campaign. It's been a while. Lissa's family probably did
they
not
definitely
participate
didn't.
But you probably did see a little bit of it around Laurentton, right? The people who were farmers and maybe the poorer craftsfolk. This is very much a folk tradition. Maybe had these little, not so grand, built of obsidian, but like little nooks in their home where they would propitiate the obsidian god. It's not something that was ever part of your life personally.
Yeah, it's something that passed under my radar for sure, and nothing I've ever paid particular attention to. So when it comes to, ironically, any sort of religious tradition, I have no idea what to do.
In any case, I think I interrupted
No,
you.
yeah, my answer was going to be, my companion here is a skilled craftswoman and sometimes keeps her head so completely down in her work that there is little else. It's not at all that she's foreign or that what you've done here is anything less than propitious.
She bobs her head. She says, "Quite so, my lord, quite so. I didn't mean to get in your lord and ladyship's way. I'll just be making my offering and go then." She looks a little bit nervous that something is going to be required of her, but like approaches the shrine and sort of like bobs a curtsy toward it, not a very practiced one, and puts her little package of offering something or other up on the altar, and then turns to go.
Can I, I'm trying to, like, the lowest level of Domain Miracle. Could I do that to just to make her feel the presence of the Obsidian God in a way that will make her propitiousness feel rewarded? I suppose it has to be specifically nothing, so I guess like I make her one. Yeah.
I am
right.
gonna do Lesser Creation and make her feel furiously happy about what she's done.
Furiously close to yeah.
We're gonna have to work on our sense of what are acceptable words to modify with the adjective furiously.
Furiously happy has always been on the table. It's in my
No, that for sure.
Okay.
That for sure.
These are some furiously good hand pies.
That's more what I was talking about.
I like yours better. Mine was going to be like I make her feel that for now the fire is absent or whatever. But yours, yes, a furious love of the
So a lesser creation of fury. Let's have you do the thing where you. Ooh, let's do charm and inspire. It's normally a command skill, but in this case, you're not orating. You're just trying to suggest miraculously.
Wait, charm and inspire?
Yeah, charm plus inspire.
Oh, so I still have.
So not charm plus graces, charm plus inspire. 3 plus an empathy.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's gonna be 2 9s.
Oh damn. So as she places her offering down, she takes a deep breath and steps back, and then kisses her held child on the forehead like 4 or 5 times in rapid succession, and sort of like spins on her heel and bobs a curtsy to the two of you and says, "Your lordship, your ladyship, may you have a pleasant festival of the fall fires. Be seeing you, I suppose." And sort of strides off, not in a purposeful, like hurried way, but with kind of a lot of energy.
I bow to her before she takes off, and then I turn beaming to Dosk and say, "See? Better than caffeine."
I'm impressed, and it's awfully good to remember that we can do good, and indeed that people who are for the big guy, the big them, are happy about it. This isn't all gloom and doom. It isn't all snuffing out light. It's embracing darkness for happiness, furious happiness even.
I like that spin on it, but I'm the more we're here, the more I become sure that we actually do have to snuff out these bonfires.
You're right. My optimism is flagging as well.
One of the things that is clear this close to the shrine, you're not sure about the other ones just yet, but this one is almost at capacity for offerings. There are so many. You guys don't know what the population of Calavan is, but it is definitely over 100,000, which is positively mammoth by the standards of Taraxis. And it's fairly, like, permeable. It usually has a lot of people in from out of town temporarily, whether trading or bringing goods to market or whatever. So, it's not like everyone in Calavan has brought offerings if all the shrines are like this, but there was barely anywhere for that woman to put her offering. Each of the offerings, too, is wrapped up in paper or cloth or leather. Some look very fine, some look very humble, some are large, some are small. Large in this case means about the volume of a loaf of bread. Small means Christmas ornament sized. And everything in between, but they are stacked up on this altar. The larger ones have started to be piled underneath it in the alcove created by the removed wedge of the pyramid. If they are all like this, quite a few people have made this offering.
So we still need to destroy the bonfires, just for good measure. I know that's probably it's not as simple as that, but if we could just make them do something they're not supposed to, the bonfires with our miracles, and then make it seem like it's the work of the obsidian god, I think that could only help. But how to go about that?
It seems all these good people were good enough to ask, so we must be the answer.
I will also point out one thing that Dosk may have put together. The regularity in your divination of the lighting of these bonfires suggests a ritual. It suggests a certain ceremony. It suggests that there is an official, sanctioned, repeated process passed down through the generations. This suggests that there must be some person or group in charge of seeing that this is done.
Would I have any idea, just from my sort of mortal knowledge, who that group might be?
Mm-hmm. That is a very good question that I feel like I could probably have you roll for. Let me check your character sheet.
Is that a knowledge
here.
plus lore kind of thing?
That's probably a lore kind of thing. Yeah, so 7 dice for you.
Coming right up. Oop. That is a pair of 8s.
All right. You are not entirely sure that Tyrios Kelavan is the person who's in charge of this, the actual ceremony, but as the Princeps of Calavan, he's almost certainly the person who has to worry about organizing this whole affair. You may or may not be able to speak to him directly, but you might be able to speak to somebody in his employ who would be able to help you. Those people would be near the top of the hill, in and around that palace. You've never met the man personally, but you are aware of him. The Kelavan family has ruled Calavan for so long that it is probable that one of them, either the city or the family, got their name from the other. And in the last few centuries, almost as much recorded history as Taraxis has, that has meant they've been pretty much the most important family in Taraxis. So it's, not the sort of person that you ever wined and dined with, but this scale of celebration in his own city, his offices at least have to be handling who is going to light these fires.
So I say, I've learned this isn't merely a tradition, it's a ritual. And so perhaps the city leaders could be implored to change course, or at the very least, we could... I hold out some hope that this can be resolved without actual bloodshed, but if we handle it centrally rather than trying to snuff out a fire here, a fire there, I think we'll get it done more quickly in any case.
Yeah, there's some merit to that. I didn't know it was a ritual, so that makes sense why the big guy may take umbrage to a ritual being performed so close to all of his little shrines here, or their shrines.
I haven't really noticed them caring one way or the other. We can switch up if you like. Let's do she a while. The point is, if we go if we go to the leaders of this city, my family name will mean something to them. Now, whether that means we gain entrance right away or whether it means we're chased out, I can't say with certainty, but it will garner a reaction.
It's worth a shot. Let's go. I trust you.
Thank you.
And with that, you head toward, well, Capitol Hill, if you will.
I will. Let the record show that I will.
For what it's worth, in my humble opinion, this capital is rather more fetching than the U.S. Capitol. Smaller, perhaps, given that, it is entirely human-scale monumental architecture from centuries before anything resembling the Industrial Revolution, but it has some things in common. White stone, a dome, although this one is tiled in red, with a golden spire on top. The whole complex of the palace actually includes a lot of outbuildings and sort of extra wings, and you don't get particularly close to the palace itself, but walk in rather to what is essentially a large receiving hall. There's a lot of seating, there are a lot of places for people to sort of form groups and chat. It seems almost like a forum of sorts for the upper crust of the largest and most powerful trading city in Taraxis, which makes it, one of the wealthiest and most presumably cultured places that you could find in this whole region. And really in the known world, as far as you guys are concerned, the Carolyn Wastes and the Shadowed Lands don't really do monumental architecture. And in some cases, to Taraxans at least, don't even seem to do clothes. So, this is sort of the epicenter. And you walk in, and there are all sorts of people from all sorts of parts of society mixing, not comfortably, but servants coming in and, socializing with each other as they serve the people who are there for trade deals or policy discussions or just waiting for an appointment with somebody in government. And the whole place is sort of, if the phrase outdoor atrium makes any sense, it's a, breezeway that is also sort of a whole lobby area. And you can see the wings of the palace on either side and the outbuildings around you. And Dusk, you are surprised to find that of all of the luck, Princeps Kelevan is here, currently quietly but forcefully chastising some kind of secretary at what to a modern viewer would probably look like a baggage claim desk, but is presumably rather slicker and fancier to the eyes of a Taraxan. It's a small wood and stone counter with a lot of papers on podiums and shelves around it, and a harassed-looking clerk trying to explain in between shouts from Tyrios Kelevan what exactly has gone wrong, apparently.
I'm going to see if I can figure out what the dispute is and then try to ingratiate myself into it.
All right. So, let's see.
Is that a charm roll, or is that...
That's going to be charm plus graces, which is going to give you 5 dice.
Alrighty. I'm going to switch up some dice here because I've been having some rolls that I'm not as happy with as I would like to be. I would like to be happier, furiously even. Here we go.
Furiously happy. I can do that.
That is 2 9s.
Oh, very excellent. As it happens, you approach within earshot of this conversation in time to hear Princeps Kelevan use the clerk's name and specify that this dispute is about some kind of local ordinance being followed improperly, and this leading to the loss of a shipment belonging to Creasus Tyr. And so you have a golden opportunity to jump in.
Oh, I do so. I say, well, I can't produce the Hawk of Therit himself, but if I might be a substitute, perhaps I might be of some service, and I give the most proper bow that I can muster, given the stress of the situation.
Sure. And applying your 2/9
I
graces
figured, yeah.
to this whole interaction. So you sweep a very fetching bow that belies the chaotic state of your dress. And, whether or not, Lissa intends to stay here, at the moment in which this interaction begins, she happens to be far enough away that, her more blue-collar appearance does not reflect poorly on you in the eyes of the princeps of Caladan.
In character, I assume that she wouldn't want me to miss my shot, so I step forward without hesitation.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And Princeps Tyrios Caladan turns towards you and says, "And who might you be?" And this is a man with a fairly imposing presence. He is extraordinarily tall.
How tall?
Close to 7 feet.
Oh, so he almost is. He's around my height.
Just for those
he's
creating t-shirts or keeping charts, remind us of Lissa's height real quickly.
6'7".
Okay.
Yeah, so he has a good 4 inches on you.
No, but if he's close to 7 feet, he doesn't have a good 4 inches on me.
He's got a miserly 3 and change.
6'11" is 4 inches taller than 6'7".
Yes. Dang it.
He wears his hair long. It's sleek and raven black, and you can tell he takes very special care of it. It's this raven black, tresses falling to his shoulders. His skin is very much that of an indoor noble, very pale white. He's old enough that just a few liver spots are starting to show up, and he regards you with these dark blue eyes that have a hint of squint to them, as though he would like to look down his nose at you, but his vision is going just enough that he kind of can't afford to if he wants to see you. He's dressed, of course, very, very grandly. He has very rich and sumptuous robes with brocade and filigree and embroidery, and he has gloves and undergarments and things that are just showing off how much very, very expensive cloth he can wear. And he sort of seems to expect you to flounder a little bit after his inquiry as to your identity and business here.
I give only the most token gesture of being on the back foot, but I'm very sure to give it. And then I say, Dask Tyr, grandson of Croesus himself, and at your service.
Very good, then. Very good. Perhaps you can help clear this up. This imbecile. And he waves at the clerk, who cringes as though he's expecting to be struck.
On the off chance he can see me, I glare at the guy just a little bit.
Who cowers. But he says, this imbecile has failed to implement the new ordinances for cargo tracking, and so it has fallen to me to investigate the theft of some... What were they? And the clerk says, silks, sir, I believe. Yes, some silks belonging to Croesus Tyr, or at least to one of his subsidiaries. He is, as you can imagine, far too important a merchant and a client to bother with this sort of thing directly, so I wish to find it as quickly as possible. You'll forgive the lackluster help, I hope, and convey my condolences to the Hawk of Therit, should it become necessary. But rest assured, I will see to it that the shipment is found.
Speaking as a lifelong subsidiary, I can tell you he'll be enormously relieved to know that the task is in your capable hands.
He says, yes, well, I wouldn't normally subject myself to worries over one lost shipment, but, well...
This guy seems...
The patriarch of the Tyr clan is another thing entirely, and silks, well... You don't need me to tell you.
No, most certainly not. Having displeased the man myself once or twice, I'm well aware.
He narrows his eyes and says, yes, I'm not actually familiar with you as a scion of the Tyr family. Certainly, I would have heard of you. And he sort of doesn't quite make it a question, but leaves it open for you.
So this, I guess this is a quick table talk. Is my play here to lie? Is my play? This is just looking at my character sheet real here. Let the listener know that I have 4 points in charm, and then I have equal investment, which is to say 1 point each in graces, lying, and jests. So this does not seem like the kind of person who can be deflected very easily. I think maybe, yeah.
He's very grumpy. Like, he's really harshing the atmosphere. I could always just try to make him fiercely happy and see if that gets us any traction.
Hold that thought, because it may be necessary. But let me do a lore plus knowledge roll to dazzle him with so much Tyr family genealogy that he will think, at least momentarily, that it's his own fault he's never heard of Dosktyr.
This is a wonderful use of the knowledge lore roll.
Yes.
I approve.
Okay. So 7 dice. Here goes. That is, 3 6s.
Nice.
The second time this campaign that's happened for me. I'm digging it.
Yeah, I know. 4 more times and it'll be especially.
yeah.
Are we going to start a counter for that?
We should.
Let's record it now. You rattle off, sort of the relations there with immense elocution and rapidity, and the princeps seems compelled by this. He nods and says, Yes, no, I think maybe I've even heard of you. You've not particularly earned the, preference of your family, I don't think. Melissus, I believe, spoke of you briefly. You had gone to some monastery.
Yes, you can just about see it from here. The confluence. That's true. Oh, you know Uncle Melly. Yes, I shudder somewhat to think of what he said. But I assure you that I've served him in particular quite well over the years.
He seems to doubt that, but he nods and says, "Well, as the only representative of the Tyr family currently in Calavan, you have my assurances that your shipment will be found and returned to you post-haste." He glares again at the clerk, who is scribbling furiously on something or other, either in an attempt to look busy or an attempt to solve this problem as quickly as possible. The princeps clears his throat and says, "It is unusual for me, but I do find myself somewhat in your family's debt, and thus somewhat at your service. Is there anything I could do to make your stay in Calavan more amenable, agreeable, pleasant?"
As a matter of fact, if I may presume to make good on the incredibly generous offer you've put forth, there may indeed be. It seems we've arrived just as the festival happens, and as I've not attended before, might I ask, is something different occurring this year? The scale and the fervor and the ardor seem to be tremendous.
He kind of knits his brows at you and says, "As far as I know, everything is going off as it should. It's been large, yes, but no larger than in my lifetime. To hear my grandfather talk about it, it was more of a duty than a celebration in his day, though given some of his other tall tales, I don't know how true that was, but, well, the people like a celebration, we're giving it to them, and we are following the traditions, the rituals, the prescriptions as well as we ever have, as far as I know. Why, have you seen something amiss?
Not amiss. It's just, it's so much wood, the city and the pyres both. I suppose my question is, as a connoisseur of cultures in this great land of ours, I hoped I might gain additional knowledge, perhaps even knowledge of an audience with those who administer the ritual. I would like to understand it better.
He says, that does sound like the sort of thing you would do, at least according to your uncle.
I think that I don't wince, but I definitely wince.
He takes a deep breath and he says, if that's all you require, I'll discharge my obligation to you as the temporary steward of your lost items. He glares again at the clerk, who is currently trying to summon a courier to send out the orders that he has written. The princeps turns back to you and says, if you check the administrative building, and he gestures to the building to his right, your left, outside of the palace, he says, that's where they should be choosing the honors this year. The various merchant families tend to send youngest sons to be the ones to light the bonfires. It's one of those things that gives them something to do, I suppose. It's a small honor, but given that youngest sons tend to have fewer of those, well, it's the least I suppose they could do. He shrugs one shoulder and says, I don't know if you'll find anybody that knows how the custom originated, but you can certainly find descriptions of the rituals themselves from them. They're willing to talk to you, which I can't guarantee, mind.
Would I be overstepping if I told them that you sent us? Me?
He rolls his eyes a little bit and says, I suppose not, so long as you don't slow down their preparations.
I don't give a verbal answer, just a deep bow.
He seems satisfied, and he gives you a curt nod and then spins on his heel and walks back into the palace, presumably to go do something more worthy of his attention.
I give the clerk one more withering look, and then I check in with Lissa. Sorry, my 1,000 apologies for, and I physically shake off the courtly etiquette. Sorry, I saw my chance and I took it. So I know who administers the ritual. I know who's in charge of it. And I think they can't deny us an audience if we say that the precept of the city gave us permission to, if not intrude, observe.
Princeps.
Oops, sorry about that.
Which is properly said. Princeps.
Clarifying it.
Is it?
Yes, but I am not saying it that
Okay,
way.
fair.
Well, I said it wrong either way, so, pretend I said it right.
This is the Italian word rather than the Latin word.
Okay. I will swallow my grumbling.
Des isn't satisfied. But anyway, that guy, the important, impressive guy.
Real ray of sunshine, that one.
I wish sometimes I weren't as good as at suffering fools such as him gladly, but it's a lifelong occupation. In fact, an intergenerational one.
You were kind of mean to the clerk. They're just they're trying their best. Look at them. They're sweating and probably having an anxiety attack on the inside.
You ruined a poor clerk. Look, he's got anxiety.
The clerk can hear you talking about him and glances back and just, basically runs from the room.
No! Why? I was going to do something nice to make up for all the rudeness that just occurred.
Sure, the clerk didn't know
he
that.
certainly didn't. I was going to do the same. I just didn't want you to think that... Look, I've lost one or two people because they thought I was icing them out to impress people like that, and I didn't want you to think... So anyway, I think I can help us do what we need to do. I'm sorry I was mean to the clerk. It was the simplest of meanness. It was just a look. It was just a look.
A look can speak volumes, Dosk.
I wish you were wrong, but you're not.
Maybe there's a happy medium, where you're still able to talk to people like that and also be nice to the people who are sweating and stressing over pleasing them.
The trouble is that people like him, and I gesture again, are only impressed by minor cruelty to people they consider lesser. It's horrible, but it's an immutable fact so far as I've observed.
I don't like it. That's why I ended up working at a forge and not dealing with people routinely. Like that, I should say. I dealt with plenty of people otherwise.
That's why I ended up in a monastery in the Salt Shoals, but that's a discussion for another day, I think.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this, because that came up in conversation, along with some interesting things about your uncle. Not to be rude or anything, but yeah, we do need to have a conversation about your time in a monastery.
They would bristle at the word monastery. We should probably walk and talk. Time may be of the essence.
Oh, let's go.
Indeed. So you head over to the indicated administrative building, and it is a bustle. Mostly with couriers, pages, and servants, but also with some clerks and a few people who look downright officious. The officious ones are uniformly young and well-dressed. But the others, well, at best they wear looks of long suffering.
I'm just gonna. I missed the opportunity earlier, so I'm just gonna do a lesser creation of Furious Joy and those who are long suffering.
All right, so that's going to be another one of these command inspire rolls, which fortunately for you is a master.
Yes.
Really quick, lest the listener think that I'm cold-hearted, I was not laughing so much at their suffering as at Robin's like instant Muppet-like, perfect frown that like.
2 sevens.
All right, not bad. You notice an immediate sort of straightening of spines and quickening of steps, if also an intensification of sour looks shot at the younger popinjays.
Why can't we get rid of sour looks?
I mean, it is an out-of-character earnest question because you are doing nothing with that miracle to change the circumstances that are causing the sour feelings. You are just offering a somewhat different way of processing or channeling or dealing with those circumstances.
I admire tremendously your desire to lighten their spirits. Perhaps one thing we could do is make sure their city doesn't burn down.
Yeah, that would definitely put a damper on things if everything was on, fire.
I get the sense especially that these folks' dwellings might be in more danger than those of, and I gesture back at our favorite, who is now well behind us, of course.
That's not always how it ends up working out, though. The first to burn is always the people who are trodden upon.
Indeed, and the first to burn are those who are told, implored, forced to carry the buckets for those who are in ultimately no danger at all.
At least I made the buckets easier to fill, with one exception, but we won't talk about that.
Already forgotten.
So you roll into this administrative building, and it is a bustle. Nobody takes particular note of you.
Is anyone obviously in charge?
No.
Hell no? Okay.
It is, at best, a semi-controlled chaos.
It's a semi-controlled chaos, and what they're doing is nothing we didn't already know they were doing, right? They're getting ready to light a lot of things on fire.
Indeed, and they are seeing to who goes where and when, and who gets what honors and privileges, and whether or not their supplies are sufficient and in the right place. Are the bucket brigades all set? Basically, the younger merchant family scions are there to insist on pride of place, on positioning in the procession, on sort of timing, all of the things that concern the very wealthy, and everybody else is trying to make sure that this happens within the confines of ritual strictures in a way that will not result in the city burning to the foundations.
Should I just shout and then let Dusk take care of the rest of it? That's on the table. Just blood.
I'm wondering if there's some nothingness-related miracle that could make them forget their social climbing and their duties and the rituals and the details for long enough that we can see We can pinpoint who wasn't bustling in the first place, but was at the center of the madness. The queen, the queen bee of this establishment or whatever. Now, what kind of domain miracle would that be? You could argue it's a lesser preservation, make it a momentary doubt or a momentary lack of social drive last, but maybe it's a creation.
I think it would be a creation, depending on how widespread and long-lasting you wanted it to be. It could even be a major one, or a lesser change, I suppose, at level 6, which I think would tap you out of domain.
It would at
points.
that.
A lesser creation of nothing could possibly, at least, if you targeted it at the, sort of nobility, merchant nobility, I guess, to sort of be a little bit more specific here, could sort of slow them down for a moment or two. I don't mean like literally seconds.
Sure. I mean, am I overcomplicating this? Do I recognize any of them? The merchant nobility?
Not really. They're all... how old is Dusk again?
Dusk is 29, I want to say.
29. They're all 10 to 15 years younger than you. So you may even have met some of their, like, parents or siblings, but not really them, no.
Okay. Well, if it doesn't require spending my one precious domain miracle point, sure, let's try slowing them down and see what we see.
Okay. You just kind of create a vacuum in the expectations and ambitions of the merchant gentry here, and over the next 30 seconds, you watch the conversations that they are trying to have with the actual workers in this building trail off as they just cross arms and lean against various bits of masonry and glare. And suddenly the chaos resolves itself a little bit into a series of almost ant-like lines around a particular central desk, where a very tall, not quite as tall as Lissa, older woman with steel gray curly hair, sort of cut close to her head in a very fine but still definitely servant's livery, is seated behind a desk and snapping orders at various people. About the time you catch sight of her as the center of all of this, the various scions of merchant families start to get a little more proactive again.
I think we beeline for that desk.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. The woman pays no notice to you as you approach.
Do we go ahead and drop the name? I mean, is that I mean,
drop the name, just do it. Be nice, but do it.
I think, well, yeah, so this is probably a roll, right? As far as being nice, do we call this graces? Right? There is an art to name dropping without sounding like you're name dropping, and more to the point, to name dropping without sounding like you're name dropping, but sounding like you have something very important to do, and that there will be trouble if you don't get it done quickly.
Yeah, charm plus graces is going to be the way to go.
5 dice. That is 2 5s.
Okay. In what relatively gracious way do you insinuate yourself into this woman's conversation?
That's a good question. Well, I say, I mean, I double name drop. I name drop the Tier family, and then I mention that we are here on business from the very authorities of the city, and while I won't take up much of your time, it is rather timely. So merchant to merchant, person to person, expert to expert, might we speak?
She ignores you for like 10 of the longest seconds of your life as she finishes a brief conversation with one of the couriers, and then she swooshes the document that courier brought off to one side. You notice here that they use paper a lot, which is not immensely usual. Paper is known and available in cities in Taraxis, but parchment is more common in most places. But they're not exactly casual with paper here, in like a modern way of like just crumpling it up and throwing it away. But they have more of it more commonly than you have usually seen. She turns to you and says in an extremely serious voice, "This had better be quick."
Everyone's so grumpy.
Have you ever tried to organize 150,000 people in a festival that involves the potential to burn your city down?
No, but there's no need to be grumpy about safety.
I like to think this is an in-canon conversation, but just with the eyes. Like, this is all
Pretty
all
much.
but telepathic.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so this is probably a lie roll, because I think my goal here is to convince her that something is deeply wrong with the ritual this year, and that it needs to come to a halt. I mean, I guess quick table talk. Is that our goal here? If we can, like, is our best chance of ending this bloodlessly to just throw a monkey wrench in the works, or do we have a better plan?
I think that's what we're working with, because the other option is to take down the bonfire pyres.
Right, which will almost certainly result in people trying to physically stop us, which then...
Not if we make the wood very angry.
That's true.
Angry wood. Lots of angry wood.
Oh, I'm about these patchwork ents you've just created.
Also, you could deprive the wood of its will to burn, as it were. You could render that nothing.
Wood ennui was actually my first thought when I thought we had to stop bonfires.
Oh, I thought you were talking wood ennui. We have angry wood, we have wood with ennui. All are valid types of wood.
Wood ennui is not something Alyssa has had to experience.
No, it's not. That's not even in her vocabulary.
No,
realistically.
Certainly not.
So we went down a major rabbit hole, and that phrase does not make it any better.
No, it does not. So, yeah, let's call this as convincing a lie as possible, which would be 5 dice.
Okay, so that's going to be 5 dice for you. Yeah. And so what we'll say is that you roll first, and then based on your success or lack thereof there, you can craft the lie.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That you tell this woman.
Daska's good at lying.
He's got like 4 charms. He's good at almost everything under that.
Yeah, I made myself a generalist as far as conversation. I was playing a Bethesda
game.
That's what I did
with sense.
Anyway.
Unlike apparently anyone else.
Well, there you go. Ooh, so that's 2. So 0s or 10s, right? So that's
zeros
2
or
10s.
10s. That's 2 10s.
Nice.
Very nicely done. Okay, so craft your most convincing lie about why these festivities have to come to a halt.
Like all lies, it must contain an element of truth. So I say, a crate has been lost from my most eminent grandfather, and it contained, here's the lie, a substance that was going to be, would be used to coat some of the more eminent buildings in town. Without this substance, the ritual cannot continue, lest some of the most important city fathers find their historic mansions ashen.
She narrows her eyes at you and she says, "First I've heard of it. You said this came from the Princeps."
I didn't want to trouble him with the details, but he was speaking of the crate not 10 minutes ago.
She sits back in the chair and says, "This is troublesome." A line is forming at her desk of people waiting to speak to her, and she sort of waves at them very forcefully to, kind of be gone. And she says, "Surely other measures can be taken. It is the day of the festival. If we don't like those pyres, somebody will."
Somebody. somebody in an unofficial capacity.
She nods. She says, I don't know if you've been up there, but the lower orders, well, they will not let the Festival of the Fall Fires pass without lighting the fires. She looks at the signs of the young nobility and she says, and I don't know that they would actually agree not to light them. This is a big ask, even from the princeps. She sort of massages her forehead and temple with fingers and thumb and says, well, if he wants it done, he'll need to send me a written order. Otherwise, I carry on as planned, and the mansions can just burn or bucket brigade like everyone else. I'm sorry. I don't doubt that it's harrowing for you, but Master Kelvin must know that simply ordering a halt on my end is not going to keep anything from burning. If he's got other plans, he needs to make them known. She looks troubled, though, and says, perhaps I can delay, but that's all I can promise.
Delay? That may be all we need. How long a delay?
She shrugs her shoulders. She says, well, normally it would be as soon as the stars are visible, but I can perhaps claim an obstruction in the flow of people or the availability of buckets that causes us to postpone. I don't think it's unprecedented. In my grandmother's day, they had to postpone until, well, full moonrise for, I forget what she said it was for. Something to do with the ocean, perhaps a storm. She shrugs a shoulder and says, that's all I can offer. My power, though my work is great, my power is limited.
I give her a gracious bow to which she is almost certainly unaccustomed. If it were any deeper, it would seem like I was making fun of her, but it's hopefully received in earnest.
Her eyebrows raise a little bit, and she says, do make sure that the princeps sends a written order next time, if he's got any further instructions. And it would help if he came to deal with these fine young gentlemen. She turns back to what she was doing and starts seeing to her line of people.
Lissa could hear all of this. Yeah, she was not... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, a storm is an interesting thought.
It is. It's as though you read my mind, but I noticed a fair few fine boats down out the harbor.
Yeah, that would
I'm
be...
not sure exactly what I'm capable of, but I could give it a go. We could see what happens. I mean, storms are kind of fun. They're all rumbly and flashy and loud.
A form of fury that is also a form of celebration. Your specialty, precisely.
And very, very dark, except for when the lightning, you know.
True enough.
Maybe it'll make the big guy happy, the big gal.
Maybe she'll be pleased as anything in creation. We hold out hope. It seems in any case I've bought us some time, even if doing so meant doing precisely the thing I promised not to do, which was delay them.
The time of day at this point is early afternoon, getting to after lunchtime. You have no specific timeline for how long you have until the fires get lit by someone. But sunset is probably going to be in 5+ hours, but you've got some time, but it isn't unlimited. So how do you choose to use the time that you have?
Well, one thing we learned is that the highborn and the upjumped don't seem quite as invested in the ritual, the spiritual, the religious aspect of this. So maybe we do want to speak to those lower merchants who were spoken of, who are carrying out the nitty-gritty, as it were, of the ritual, and see if we can learn more so that we can counter it in ways that are a little bit more visceral.
Rituals are typically meant to serve a specific purpose or appease a specific entity, and since this seems like the antithesis of what the Obsidian God stands for, we need to learn more about the ritual itself.
We know which human authorities we're running afoul of, and indeed have run afoul of, but knowing which godly entities we may be running afoul of seems wise.
Not a bad idea. Where do you want to start? With the people in the room with you already? Or with their families? Or by researching the ritual itself? Not sure precisely where you'd start there, but you could look around.
Just people who the people that are in the room with us seem really busy, and we don't want to disrupt some of their furious joy. I don't know if the other miracle undid that, but we don't want to disrupt them further than we already have. They probably won't spare us a second thought.
Indeed, I suppose I was speaking of the scions of merchant families who were gumming up the works, being the ones who would actually be carrying the flames.
Oh, okay.
How do we find them? Yeah.
They're
everywhere.
They're all here, standing in the room. They're shouting.
How do we find one who will talk to us? Is what I meant. Yes, you're right. I asked a very dumb question, which is how do I find the people who are currently all around me?
We're in the room with us.
Yes.
It's okay. I've gummed up some math and other things this session, so you're good.
There are a couple dozen of these scions of merchant families around. Perhaps not the whole complement that would be carrying the flames this evening, but a number of them. And they are uniformly seeming kind of pompous and grumpy and in the way. If you start with them, that's one thing. You could also try to identify their families and start with their families. You could take another tack entirely. You could go any direction you wanted, but if you're looking for the people who are in the room with you now that are going to be directly involved, if your idea was it seems like it's not as important as a ritual as it is as a status symbol to those people, well, the status goes to these folks. About half to 2/3 of the whole total complement for this evening are in the room with you currently.
Yeah. I think it was that, and it was also like we want to. Maybe it's just a question of overhearing, but we want to hear like what is the religious component of this, right? We know who we're doing this versus. Who is Mott doing this versus? if there is an answer to that question, do we try to just find someone to ask, or do we?
I think we're here. We might as well try to strike up a conversation with one of the folks standing around.
I think maybe my play, and tell me if this is a role, is I overhear the hustle and the bustle until I hear a family name I recognize, ideally one that would be impressed with mine.
Okay, all right. It's probably a scrutinize roll.
Character sheet. That's 4 dice.
Indeed, sense 2 plus scrutinize 2 is 4. So
I can handle that degree of addition.
I suppose I was explaining for our listeners.
No, I was being self-effacing. But yes, that is important for the listeners to understand. So 2 7s.
Not bad at all. Let's see. You sort of low-key filter through until you hear a particular name. Brock is a family name from Ferret, a relatively prominent family there who has been having a bumpy road making inroads in Calavan. Your grandfather made the decision to become the most prominent merchant in Ferret. That spot being taken, the current patriarch of the Brock clan has decided to try to become a middle to lower tier family in Calavan. It's not unheard of, but it is challenging, and it seems like the person to whom the remark was being addressed when you overheard his family name maybe has some of those hosts writing on him. He appears to be a youth, probably no older than 19, maybe as young as 16. Very finely dressed in family colors, and looking quite bored and sullen as a somewhat older but less prosperous looking fellow next to him complains loudly.
Can I ask a mean to the GM question? Do I know like the house words or the slogan of the Brock family?
It is extremely mean, but it is a very fair question. Let's see. Prosperity is our virtue is their slogan.
It's good. Okay, so I basically wait for him to finish his conversation, and then speaking to Lissa, say, "My kingdom for prosperity is the only virtue that's going to get us out of this situation." Ham-handed, but hopefully effective.
Oh man, that's amazing. I feel like there's got to be a roll there too.
Sure. Is that
Let me.
It's not a lie, but it's like a bluff. I don't. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Graces for this. It's equivalent roll,
okay.
So
So that's 5 dice coming up. These dice have been reasonably hot tonight.
Yeah.
He said as he got no matches. Had to say it.
You jinxed yourself.
I did. So this guy.
The younger Brock does overhear you and seems to look sharply in your direction and says, more or less the Taraxis equivalent of, "Do you bite your thumb at me, sir?" He says, "Do you mock my house words?"
I mean them perfectly in earnest. I mean that people seem to have completely lost the point of this escapade. And it's become, indeed, an escapade. I'm ranting at this point now. It's ridiculous. It's just a way for people to show off to each other, and the context has been lost completely.
It's a slant use of it. But you have a perform skill here that I want you to roll.
Oh, that's great.
It's not exactly that you're doing verse, but you are doing something of a soliloquy.
Yeah.
So I would like you to roll your 5 dice plus an expert die. So an expert die is different from a master die in that you set it to a value before you roll the other dice.
I mean,
but you do get to pick
because
for
So
that.
there's
Beast has
essentially
been
no
good to
reason
me.
to not roll or set it to a 10.
well, except that the beast has been good to me, so 6 might be the way to go.
Also, I like the notion
Go
of
for
Dask as Hamlet.
Yes.
Ooh, bonus content.
I mean, it goes with the whole sad boy thing.
It does.
Right?
It does.
True.
Well, I should have set it to a 10 because there was 1 0 or 10 in there, but we'll have to live with 3 4s.
Wow. I mean, that's a wide set for that number of dice. So, okay, 4s. You seem to mollify him a little, and he seems very perplexed by your sartorial choices, which seems to be one of the ways he's used to gauging how he should treat somebody, so he's left a little bit adrift. And being so much your junior makes him both sort of defensive and offensive at the same time. And he tries to be haughty, but doesn't quite reach it, and says, very well, and who might you be?"
I answer him with the Tier House words, which are, "For all our pains, the wise pay well."
His eyebrows look like they want to raise and sort of knit together at the same time, with the overall effect that he looks a little bit constipated, and he says, "Tyr, a serving man, I suppose?"
I look not aghast, which is clearly what he's going for, but horrified. And I say, "Most certainly not. I believe you're familiar with Melissus Tyr, Croesus Tyr, close family."
He goes, "As if such august persons from my hometown would let one of their prance around in... What even is that?" He gestures to some part of your clothing very unspecifically.
Oh, this indicates philosophy, and this protects my hands, which are, of course, musicianly. Oh, and this, of course, mismatched because my left hand contains fate, I was once told. Excuse me, and who are you to impugn my sartorial choices when you appear to be on the back foot within the simplest of rituals, which, if we may get back on topic, has been completely divorced from the purpose to which it was originally set?
He sighs and says, "Nobody knows what the purpose is anymore. The purpose is to give something like this season as a holiday and give someone like me something to do to keep me from running off on an adventure when my grandfather isn't looking at me.
A worthy purpose.
The whole thing is quite a farce, frankly.
Yes, I do see how it would be a worthy challenge to give someone like you something to do, but yet, there must have originally been some point to all of this.
He shrugs, he says, perhaps, but I don't know the last person who cared about it. They've probably been dead for centuries. What do you care, anyway? You're not even from here. I mean, you're not even part of the ceremony. Are you trying to take my place?
Certainly not, I say, and I give the impression of suppressing a guffaw. I say, I am a citizen of Taraxis. I'm here for the festival. I came here to witness something important, and I was aghast to instead see petty climbers and municipal arson in the place of what I hoped to find.
Well, whatever you hoped to find, I don't think you'd have found it here in the last 5 generations. So provincial. Never been outside of Ferret, have you? Be gone.
Oh.
And he turns back to his friend.
I think the word you're looking for is have a nice day.
He turns to you, livid, face red. He says, do not dare to speak to me, large serving woman.
Oh, I'm speaking to you. You want to say hello? How are you? What's your name?
He says, what I want to say is that the guards should come and arrest you, but they probably wouldn't know where to put you. I don't know that the jail cells are tall enough to contain you.
I'm very hard to contain. What can I say? Thank you for recognizing that about me. I am quite tall.
Not everyone is as easy to circumscribe as your good self. If you'll pardon us, we have things of consequence to do.
He splutters and looks like he wants to spin on his heel and leave, but since you guys are leaving, he can't do that without walking next to you. So he just kind of, like, rotates in place back and forth for a moment, while his friend looks confused and a little horrified.
Have a nice day. Don't burst any blood vessels.
Well, either he's an idiot...
contents himself poorly with muttering.
Either he's an idiot, or, well, he's an idiot, and... it seems that no one remembers the actual significance of this ritual. Well, he doesn't. People who should don't.
So what we'll have to do is find people who may remember. I saw some... I hate to use the phrase older because that doesn't feel like a nice thing to say, but I did see some people who might remember by the shrines.
Well, let's take a look then. That seems to be the only place we found a personage in this city that's not spiritually desolate. The one insult, by the way, from that volley that Dask is having a legitimately hard time walking off is provincial.
Mm-hmm.
He is still mad about that.
So you guys head out. You walk back to the harbor, closer to the river end this time, so you can kind of cover the whole length of it in one go. And this shrine closest to the end is sort of situated between the first 2 of the bonfire pits, closest to the river, and is similarly overflowing with these offerings all kind of bundled up, and actually has a small line by it. Part of the reason for this seems to be that there is if you can imagine a hermit who tried to dress to impress. You're seeing somebody in a simple, solid color, neutral tone, undyed robe that seems to be of silk, so it is just slightly off-white. And the simple rope belt seems to be of a sort of, not literally gold, but gold-colored woven fabric. And they appear to be clean and sort of like with a rather well-kept head of hair and recently shaven. He's standing there, kind of giving these solicitous bows to everybody who approaches the shrine and murmuring something to them as they approach.
That's our guy.
We approach.
Okay. Do you want to wait in the line as though giving an offering, or do you just go up for a conversation with this fellow?
I think probably Lissa has had enough rudeness for one day, and we probably get in line.
Bingo.
Didn't mean to speak for you.
I may rifle through my pockets and see if there's anything that, could pass as an offering. I don't know what exactly they're leaving behind. Maybe.
Well, interestingly, yeah, you can't really tell. They are entirely, every single one of them is wrapped up in cloth or leather or linen or something. A lot of the poorer ones are sackcloth or cheesecloth. Some of the finer ones may even be silk. But it's difficult to tell without having ever been part of this devotion what they're actually leaving.
I turn to Dosk and ask if he has anything to wrap a couple of coins in, to kind of obscure what we're leaving, just in case it's not the proper thing to leave. Not that it matters. Do I feel? Actually, hold on. I probably know what the obsidian god would actually want to be left as an offering. Consulting our little reference sheet here to see if there's anything that can help with that. I don't know. I will try to connect with Mott and the shard that's within my soul and see if there's a preferred method of offering.
You are going to hate me for this.
Yes.
The roll for that would be sense plus
never mind.
Well, hold on. How bad is this? I have no eerie and 2 cents. What do you have?
I have
You at least can succeed.
So I have a possibility of success.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll try it. Yeah, the worst that can happen is we don't learn anything, right? It's not...
Yeah.
There isn't really like a critical failure here where my head's going to explode or something. Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what I would term a critical failure in the one roll engine.
Yeah,
Nothing
well,
really.
this is the closest we get because no matches. 3 and a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can't really feel Mott turning inwards, but what I would say is that you haven't gotten much indication that the Obsidian God cares very much for any particular material or mortal thing.
I mean, the big gal forgot to put proper sheets on our beds and mattresses, as I recall.
Yeah, you had slabs of obsidian with a comfy pillow.
At least there was a comfy pillow.
I know.
He's not always that good.
So, I guess it makes sense that Mott would not have any preference or craving for offerings. So, as long as we can come up with a scrap of fabric or leather and then wrap it around something, I think we're good.
I definitely have scraps of fabric, of leather, to patch my many patchwork clothes. So we have our pick. I probably pick a very small, very dark piece of leather and material. You might call it suede. It's soft. But yeah, I wrap Lissa's coins in that.
Okay, so yeah, you now have a small pouch, and about that time, you are approaching this posh hermit. A good look at him. He is, on the younger side of middle age. Fairly good looking in an extremely kempt kind of way. You get the feeling that, at the very least, he seems to think that he would not come off as well if he didn't preen a little bit. He has short, dark hair that is kind of slicked a little bit with some unknown substance kind of to either side. Clean shaven, kind of fresh faced, sort of a golden hue to his pallor, and this sort of marvelous belted robe, and an extremely solicitous manner as you approach, as it's you're next in line to go to the shrine. He gives you a slight bow and says, "The Obsidian God's blessings on you who watch the darkness." And he makes a small gesture with his hand that is sort of an arc up and a smaller arc down, and then sort of like a point in the middle. You think it would resemble an open eye. And he gives you the beginnings of a smile.
As we hand him the coins and the
Then-
wrapping, I hold my hand over it so that it's in extra shadow, and as I pull my hand away, I cast a lesser preservation so that the darkness stays a moment longer than my hand does.
He sort of, murmurs a blessing over it, noticing in the darkness staying as he moves his hand through it, and then looks up and makes eye contact with you, Dusk, and he smiles and shouts at the top of his lungs, "The prophets of the Obsidian God are among us! The promised day has come!" And that's where we'll end our session.
So much for a low
you can-
profile.
Yeah.
You can take a mortal experience each. And I forgot to ask at the top if there were any particular expenditures of experience, but I imagine that will be a discussion for next time, as I think we're getting to the point where you have enough that you could reasonably start raising skills, if you
The
wish to.
first thing I'm doing is adding more to my sins.
That might take another session to get to. I think stats
yes.
increased by the
Incidentally,
5. So.
While we're at it, and speaking of XP, rolling lore gets me 3 3s.
All right, so that will give you your experience for the session. Thank you for thinking of it.
Oh, you know what? As long as we're
in the
doing
meantime-
end of the show housekeeping here, I
Yes.
would have my wounds healed. I got conked on the head by the undead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, any shock damage you had would have gone away with your
Cool,
full
okay.
nights of rest. Full
I
night
thought that
of
was
rest.
true, and
Yes.
it didn't come up because nobody hit me in the head this time. But I just wanted to check.
Right.
I can go ahead
Yes,
and
yes. Your shock damage would be gone after a good rest. Thank you for remembering that. So that puts us at a good point to pick up next time with figuring out what exactly all of this is getting at here in Calavan with this posh hermit fellow. And I think that we'll have some dice peaks after this if people want to join us when those are available. But otherwise, I think that concludes this session of Dice Punks. Thanks for joining us. I hope our players and listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you'll all join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the wider web at dicepunks.com, and on Twitter as @dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell, so say goodbye to the kind folks at home, players.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And as my grandfather used to say, don't get into a war of words in Calavan.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And don't be rude to each other. Be excellent to each other.
Thanks for joining us, folks, and beware of those who would proclaim prophets.
Just so. And as the poet once said, I hear, but how will I see? Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in, and stick around through the Advent stuff. There's Alyssa's line waiting for you at the end of it. The songs in this episode, theme of the Dice Punks and its acoustic version, were written and recorded by the Duke of Nothing himself, Drew. Cover art is by Joanne, who will be behind the scenes for the time being, but played Ruth, a Gremlin, in our Psionics one-shot. Site design and graphics for dicepunks.com are by Robin, the player behind the irrepressible Lissa, the Duchess of Fury. Rain and the one-roll engine it runs on were created by Greg Stolze, whose work can be found in a frankly astonishing number of cool places, but I'll point you toward gregstolze.com. Nobilis was created by Jenna Caterin Moran and can be found alongside much of her other really intriguing work, both in and outside of tabletop roleplaying, at afarandsunlessland.wordpress.com. Links to both systems and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, well, that's reward enough on its own, really, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks after show for episodes 1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, Subtlety is for cowards.
It may not come as any surprise to everyone here, but I kind of strike a striking image. Aside from my height, I tend to dress a little bit eccentrically, so I cram as many rings as possible and wear a lot of green and blacks and have needless amounts of buckles on my clothing, just because, details our personality. So I was speaking with a customer in my forge one day, and they commented on my clothing. It's kind of remarkable, sets me apart from other people in the area. And I came up with this great line, which you may have similar successes with. And I invited them to feel my shirt because you know what it's made of? Girlfriend material.